Okay, welcome to my lecture, Alleviate Ulcerative Colitis and Crohn's disease. My name is Jerome. These are the upcoming videos and this is how it's going to work. I'm going to start by talking about my success stories. And these have been plenty. The past couple of years, I must have treated at least 20, 30 people. I've been part of a company that treated many more altogether, and the success rate is very high. And by that, I mean no guarantee, but I'm talking about inflammation levels going down to such an extent that medication were usually more than not needed anymore. And we're talking about no diarrhea or pain, people saying like, I have a little bit of leftover complaints, maybe not even, but it's such an improvement. Oh my God, I have such more energy and I'm so glad that I'm medication free and maybe an operation in the future. Again, I'm not guaranteeing anything, but it has been an enormous success. So please pay attention, keep watching. Hope it will be the case for you as well. Then I'm going to talk about an adapted version of the paleo diet. A lot of things are about food and the digestive system. That's up next, and the microbiome. And then I'm going to talk about stress. All these topics are just as important as the previous or the next one, albeit that the first ones, like the diet and stuff like that, please be careful. But I know many of you out there are do-it-yourselfers. You might not have the financial means to come under treatment. You can come under treatment with me or some naturopath or somebody else who's knowledgeable about these things. And I would always recommend that. Maybe you want to try some things first, and I'm going to give as much safe advice, and I'm going to warn you when it's like, maybe you not try this yourself, as much as I can, so that you already see, oh wow, there is improvement. That's what I'm going to aim for. But it's going to be more difficult to do it yourself as we progress in these videos. I also recommend not watching everything all at once, or if you are going to do it, watch it again later on. It is going to be a lot of information. This is like in between a patient and a therapist instructional video lecture. So it's going to be a lot. Don't worry. I want you to recognize things. I want you to be like, oh, hey, maybe this is my specific problem. And then go out and search for somebody. Doesn't have to be me. If you don't like me, fine. Go to somebody else and just see if they know what I'm talking about and if they're willing to treat you and guide you in that sense. This is the important thing. Okay. About me. I used to be a physiotherapist. I don't do anything with that anymore. I then studied orthomolecular therapy. That's about, it's a little different from most dietitians in the world, although we have more in common than differences, but we do tend to be a little more low carb, higher in certain fats. We use a little more supplements as well. That's about like quick generalization, but about the differences. Then I studied clinical psychoneuroimmunology. That is very interesting. Mouthful, and it's basically the study that studies all these different systems, which we now have like a specialization for. You go to the neurologist, the psychologist. We study the biochemical and physiological connection between these systems. And we think that this is where the answers lie. Very arrogant, but I have seen many different diseases be at least improved, like the Crohn's we're talking about now, the ulcerative colitis, but I've also seen autoimmune diseases. Like for instance, I myself had Hashimoto's. It's an autoimmune disease of the thyroid. It runs in my family, but no Hashimoto's anymore. I tested it before and after, gone. Did that for a lot of patients, did that for my own brother, also gone. So apparently this lifestyle has much more influence than we now or used to think. Okay. I also teach other therapists in the Netherlands. I am Dutch. I am from the Netherlands, and I teach other therapists there in my profession. I give lectures to clients like I'm doing right now, and I do my consults online. So it doesn't matter where you live in the world. If you do trust me and you're like, okay, I want to have some consults, some talks, some food guidelines with this guy, please don't hesitate. Give me a contact and I will try to book you in. Okay, I've also had abdominal problems for many years. It's never been diagnosed for more, if you want to call it that, than spastic colon, irritable bowel syndrome. I just know I was young and I was in pain with like cramps 3 times a day for like an hour, sweating on my forehead and just diarrhea all the time. So maybe, I don't know, maybe it was irritable bowel. It was horrible and I was fatigued and I had anxiety and it was not good. And it took me 9 years and then I started at an orthomolecular therapist, which I am now myself. We changed the diet, we increased my gut flora, we improved my gut flora, we even treated a parasite that was in there. We did a bunch of other supplements like deficiencies that I had, and it was weeks, at most weeks. And it just went away. I now have maybe one little cramp moment a month, and that's usually when I have worked too hard and didn't drink enough. So yeah, that's a pretty good improvement, and I've seen that with many of my clients after since. So okay, one more disclaimer. If you don't know what you have, please go to the doctor first. It was better to have a good diagnosis and then come to somebody like me, for instance, and then I can treat better and treat better. But if you don't have a diagnosis, it could be unsafe. Maybe there's something dangerous, short-term dangerous. So always get yourself checked out first. And of course, these videos are not a personalized therapy, and that is a very important one. You might have seen on the internet like, oh, this works really well for me, and then it doesn't work for you, or vice versa. This is why it's not personalized. What is one person's cause is not the other person's cause, and there are always multiple causes to all diseases out there. Don't get rheumatic arthritis just from one day to the next. That's been building up for decades. Different things building up and then bam, there it is. So same thing with the irritable bowel. Sorry for all the children, but then already like intrauterus, like something went wrong already. So it builds up, multiple causes. All right, let's go to the success stories. Enough disclaimers. Apologies, this is in Dutch, but I'm going to talk about this woman. She was in her 50s, one of my most difficult clients, took the longest to improve her. She had the medication, a very positive woman, but under a lot of stress as well, and was diagnosed with Crohn's disease, had the medication for it and everything. Now, bottom left, I hope you can see this if you're watching this on a cell phone. There's calprotectin. Now, for those who don't know what that is an inflammatory marker. It's common throughout the world that's used to monitor, even partially diagnose inflammatory diseases like Crohn's and ulcerative colitis. Not so much irritable bowel, but this is a chronic inflammator. She had 738, I can see now. It is more than the 50 that it's supposed to be. Max 50 is supposed to be almost nothing, but okay, let's say max 50. And then if you have like between 100 and 250, you get ulcerative colitis, more as a diagnosis combined with some other scans. And she had 700. So yeah, that's pretty severe. Diarrhea, pain, no energy, the works. We started treating her. She had one parasite. She was very sensitive to lactose and milk protein as well. The parasite was the blastocysts parasite. They don't always test that one. Later on, I'm going to talk about it. The stress was also a factor, but these two things combined with some deficiencies, omega-3 deficiency, vitamin D deficiency, be careful with vitamin D, but some deficiencies you had to fill up, and especially the dairy in her case. The dairy was a big role. Also a little bit of gluten, I think, sensitivity. And after 4 months, you can see in the middle, we have a calprotectin of 218, 4 months. This is slow in my experience, but we later found out that she accidentally was still eating some lactose in some products. So when we took that out and we continued the treatment, again, gut flora built up, parasite treatment, all that stuff. 4 months later, another 4 months later, we have 77, medication free. Now, this is 2017, it's now 2021. I still have contact with this woman, still medication free. Good, right? All right. A little about, in case you don't know, the ulcerative colitis and the Crohn's disease. It's 0.5% of the entire population, and it is increasing rapidly, very rapidly. And I wonder how many people are out there who don't have the diagnosis yet, but already have it. If you want a diagnosis, if you need a diagnosis, you have the story, like your complaints. You have some radiology, it means like the scans, the MRIs, CT, whatever kind of scans, x-rays. And of course you have this calprotectin, which is a stool sample you gotta give to the doctor, to the lab, and then they test it and you have this calprotectin, and then together they say, okay, you have this chronic disease, you have chronic inflammation, long-term inflammation. But is this really a cause? Is my question. Because you have this chronic inflammation, but what is causing the chronic inflammation? Now, this is usually the cutoff line where it's like, okay, well, we don't know yet. It's an autoimmune disease. There's inflammation with the best intentions, by the way, but there's no cause with it, which is a little weird, I think, because, well, if you look at the global guidelines, which is, by the way, in America a lot better than in the Netherlands, but all guidelines say, well, first test for parasites, these specific ones, test for this and fungus maybe, and is this going on? And if all that is excluded, then you can give the diagnosis. Now, without any critique, none of my clients had these tests done so far. It's not anybody's fault. These tests are highly expensive. They're a bit expensive. They're mostly exhausting to all do. Like, it's going to take a lot of man hours to do it. And if 0.5% of the population has this, probably more, well, healthcare is already raised to the roof. If we do that, it's going to be even more difficult. This is where the money part comes in. No conspiracy intended, but, well, money is something that, well, everyone with the best intentions even have to consider into the equation. So yeah, but even if there's still a lot of vague stuff out there about the causes of these diseases, and I'm not saying I have all the answers, I'm just saying I've had a lot of success stories together with my colleagues, so maybe we're onto something, huh? Okay, a little more convincing, hopefully. Let's do the bottom one. These are 2 people. Bottom one first. We have calprotectin of 450. This young child of, I think he was 6, 7 years old, did not even know he had diarrhea, but he wasn't even tested yet. Not that I'm saying that he has, but this looks like a Crohn's disease situation to me. And we started treating him. He was a bad eater. He really was. Like, the behavior wasn't good, and he didn't want to eat anything, which is very common for children with like problems, especially with their gut problems. They tend to stay away from many different types of food. That's such a neurological thing. We started treating him. We didn't even change that much in the diet. We did treat other things with him, especially deficiencies. Again, certain magnesium deficiencies. Don't buy magnesium. Some give you more diarrhea. Some you have to have like a certain type of magnesium. Omega-3 again. We did leave like many things that are irritable for his bowels out of his diet. And it did work still. Especially young children, they recover really fast. We're talking about, let's see, 4 months. Again, 4 months, and his calprotectin is not measurable anymore, so it's gone again. Planes were gone, and although he's still a bit of a difficult eater, the parents said like, "Oh, this is a different child." logically, because he was in pain and he didn't absorb probably 75% of everything he ate. So yeah, I would be a little cranky too. Okay, last one, top. Also didn't know, again, here we go. Also didn't know, a man in his 70s, highly overweight, diabetes type 2, had to take the insulin shots and everything. A lot of pain. He had a lot of vertebrae that were damaged. His neurons, were just damaged because of probably the diabetes and all the inflammation that's going on. And his guts, also a lot of problems. Still did the diet, treated the guts, same thing. It took 1 year, I'm not gonna lie, 1 year for him to lose 27 kilos without him moving. He was pretty overweight, so there's only a big improvement to make there. 27 kilos. You can look up his little review down below. I have everything down below, really small. Hope you can read it. The pain subsided in such a way that he's now taking 1/4 of the medication he used to take. 1/4. He just moves around again. He's happy again. He said, like, I wanted to die, and now I'm better again. I'm not saying he's perfect, but he is way better, and he is very grateful, and that's why he also did a little review there. So, hope it sounds promising. About medication. Last thing, and then we're going to go to the next video. Please, if you need medication, please take it. It's very important. If you have chronic inflammation, that will eat your, well, it's not just the complaints themselves, it will eat your body up. So thank God there's medication to suppress those inflammations. What I'm saying is, if there's an alternative for the long run, go for it. Why? Because these medications don't address the root cause of these problems. They just suppress. It's like having a fire somewhere and somebody's still lighting it at one end and somebody else is trying to put out the fire on the other hand. You know, it's like that. You still need to do it because else the fire will get worse and everything will be destroyed eventually. But on the long run, it's not good for you. Why? Because these medications, they suppress in one way or the other. They try to suppress your inflammations, your immune system in total. It doesn't discriminate between your guts and the rest of the immune system. And well, you need your immune system for many, many things. Now, I don't want to scare anyone either. Please don't get me wrong. Again, you need the medication. Better probably to take it than to not take it until you find something else. But if you let that go you can do it for 10, 20 years, 30 years, but these medications have been known to cause certain problems once you get a virus, for instance, stuff like that. Increased risk. It's not going to be totally wrong, but it's not going to go totally wrong, but it's increased risk. So if you can get rid of that risk, why not, right? Okay, good. Let's go. Let's start. Solutions. I hope I've convinced everybody enough that they're like, come on, get to the solutions. Let's get started. The paleo diet, or my version of the paleo diet.